beneficial aspects of that
Oh, yeah.
and how you can mitigate it.
Thank you, Dustin. All right, are we good to go? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's meeting of the Albany County Legislature's Law Committee. I believe the first item of business is taking roll.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Kuhn,
Here.
Reedy,
Here.
Feeney,
Here.
Berlier. Here. McLaughlin.
Here.
Potsky is excused. Ricard.
Present.
Bergdorf.
Here.
And Wayland. Here. You have a quorum.
Great, thank you so much. Item number 1 on tonight's agenda is approving previous meeting minutes. Those are the meeting minutes from our meeting from March 27th.
I'll move. Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit out of order tonight. We're gonna start with items 10 and 11. Item 10 is authorizing the submission of a grant application to the New York State Department of Health, Bureau of Perinatal, Reproductive, and Sexual Health regarding prevention education. And I think we're gonna consider this with item 11, which is amending resolution number 113 for 2021 as amended regarding prevention, education, and amending the 2024 Crime Victim and Sexual Violence Center budget. And I believe we have Karen Ziegler here, the Director of Crime Victims for Albany County. Oh,
Deputy Director.
Deputy,
Yep.
oh, okay.
Hi,
Hello.
good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Wingle. I'm the Deputy Director of Crime Victims. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. If it's okay with everyone, I'd like to start with number 11, just because it makes more sense in chronological order. Does that work for everyone?
Fine.
Typically, you're seated.
Seated?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do they hear?
Okay, Ms.
Okay.
Wingle?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yep. So starting with item 11, this is to accept $7,500 in additional funding for our current contract with the Department of Health. The contract runs through October of this year, so it's going to bring the total contract amount to $124,406. And basically what we're planning to do with the funding is to add a health equity component to our existing Healthy Nightlife initiative. So we're currently in the process of speaking with some of our community partners to assist with this project, but we think it'll be a really great expansion of our current work.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments about item number 11?
I'll move it.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Then do you want to turn to item 10?
Yes.
Okay.
So thanks for letting me go out of order, because this request actually picks up when the current grant that I just talked about ends in October. So we're requesting permission to apply for a multi-year grant from the Department of Health. The grant is going to be for $170,000 a year, and it's going to pick up on November 1st of this year after the current grant ends and go until the end of January 2029. So that's a total of 4 years and 3 months. And the purpose is to provide community and societal level anti-violence prevention education. We're going to be working with some evidence-based practices in order to mobilize our community members against violence, with a particular focus on some of our high-risk populations. And we're going to be hopefully engaging with other county departments to provide trauma-informed education to their staff members who may also be working with those populations.
All right, well, thanks for that. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this item? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Move it.
Feeney?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Have a nice night.
You as well, thank you.
Okay, so, now we'll go back to item number 2 on our agenda, which is local law number A for 2024. A local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 106 of the Albany County Code, setting forth requirements for facilities within Albany County where the local government unit identified by New York State is the Albany County Department of Mental Health. Is the sponsor here?
It'd be me.
Oh,
I'm
you
substituting
taking over this
Designated
one?
crime sponsor.
Tonight.
Okay. Well, does anyone have any questions, comments, discussion? This is one that has been under consideration in various iterations for quite plenty of time. Anything? Dennis, you want to say anything?
No, this is basically, it's a notification statute. And I think it's something that, we went over a lot last year, we made some changes, new iteration, like you said, this year. Nobody came to the public hearing last night, made any complaints, as we got in the past. They're looking to move it.
Yeah, it looks as if some of the stakeholder objections to this have been apparently remedied by the changes to the legislation. So, okay, well, any other discussion? Yeah, Mr.
I just have
Bergdorf?
a question, and I apologize because I didn't go line by line through the text with last year's. But does this still allow the 34 licensed people by the mental health department, the state OMH in Albany County, to move within their municipalities without any public hearing or scrutiny?
Yep,
Yep.
they're exempt from this law if they're moving within the same municipality.
Right.
Yep.
So if you've got 30 of them in Albany, and we pass this, then nobody has to get any approval, and they can move anywhere in Albany.
Well, let's be clear about what this is. This is a notification statute. Ultimately, it is not the county legislature that has any approval authority over this. This is just basically saying there's a state process
Yeah.
for these types of facilities. This is a statute that would require an additional level of notification to elected officials when that process is invoked, so that we could go to we could have knowledge of and potentially circulate information about the hearings. But we don't have the authority to sort of layer on another approval requirement.
Well, once again, I don't mean to be contentious, but I look at this as a non-notification piece of legislation. Because if we did not have this, and this is responsive to one instance in Manans, if we did not have this, if anybody wanted to move from one location in Albany to another location in Albany, there would have to be notification by Dr. Graziano and the state OMH department. But right now, we're absolving the 34 people that are here from moving anywhere within the municipality that there are. So we have 4 of them in Colony, I know
There is no
that.
current notification requirement at all for
Okay, so-
for legislators. So this creates a notification requirement except for when they're moving within the same municipality. So
But if- but
this
if-
does not currently exist.
So if you pass this, okay, and the Bergdorf facility wants to move from the hinterlands of the city of Albany to Central Avenue where Camo Nuevo goes, there doesn't have to be any notification.
Any public notification under this law, there's all sorts of other notifications.
Oh, no,
and
no, no, I
requirements
understand
under
that.
OMH.
So, but what we're doing is we're saying 34 facilities in the county that currently, without this law, a new location would have to be noticed.
Would not have to be noticed. There is no current notification requirement. This is creating a notification.
So if they
requirement.
went to a new location, they're grandfathered in under their existing law?
There's no grandfathering in, there just is no notification requirement at all already.
If there's no notification requirement, what was the problem in Manans, that there was no
Nobody was
notification?
notified.
Well, I thought the mayor and one of the trustees were
The mayor
notified.
knew, no one else, apparently, my understanding is that the mayor did not tell anyone
Wow.
else, and it was kept close to the vest or something.
I understand what you're trying to do, but from my perspective, we are reacting to a problem that no longer exists in Manans, and we are creating a scenario by which there are a whole bunch of other facilities will, if they wanted to sell their franchise and sell it to someone else or whatever, and move to a bigger facility, as long as they're in the municipality, they wouldn't be subject to the notification that someone new from outside Albany County would be coming into. And I think,
But no, currently, the new person would not have any, there is no notification requirement currently. So anyone new moving in now
I
would not have a notification period under current law.
I appreciate your position.
Oh, that's the law,
Okay.
so,
But we're not having an argument about the
No, I-
merits of it, we're having an argument about whether you're saying is factually right about what the law does. So we say, I appreciate your position, she's trying to explain to you what
Yeah.
the law does. Okay, Ms. Whalen?
I think that having some notice is better than having no notice. So it's, I'm happy that we are getting some notice. But I do wonder what the history of this exemption, C, like why is that exempted out? Like what is the rationale behind no notice needing to be given by agencies that are just moving around within the same municipality? Like, what is the rationale there? I don't really understand. Obviously, this is like a negotiation or someone settled, for this as opposed to everyone giving notice. But like, why? What is the significance of that C?
my understanding is that the sponsor made that change after the public input in the fall.
Well, Dennis, you're here on behalf of the sponsor.
Yeah,
Can
no,
you
that's
answer?
the-
Like, I'm happy Ms.
No,
Kennedy
no.
has all the answers, but it's your.
That's my understanding too. It was a response to a lot of the public comments that came in the fall, when people came out for the posters.
So the notice though will always be given to the Albany count, because, well, my understanding is that originally before this, the mental health commissioner got notice, but just never conveyed it to us, or wasn't required to. Are those mechanisms still in place? So those folks will still get the notice from people just moving around within the municipality.
Yes.
There just won't be any requirement for those inter-municipality moves to give us a notice.
For intra-municipality moves, you would not have to, the DMH would not have to go through this notification process, which again, does not currently exist.
But
So-
they still will get he'll still get a
yeah.
notice. All those other people still get notices.
Of course.
We're just not getting the extra layer of notice.
Yes,
But we will get some notices, which is better than getting no notices, which is, so if someone is going from Albany to Colony, then we'll get a notice, so that's good.
Okay.
If they're going from Colony to Colony, the mental health people will get the notice, we just won't get the notice.
yes, the legislators would not be specifically notified in that instance, yes.
Correct.
Ms.
It is
Bergeron?
a weird, it's a
Oh,
weird.
sorry, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yep, that's
It
all
is
right.
kind of an odd exemption, like, I understand that you said just because of public, I know, I was sitting there in public comment and there was like some person that came in and said, if you don't do this, like, we are not gonna move. And actually, I didn't like it when that person came in and basically tried to extort us by threatening us. Really, that was really out of line, I do remember that. I don't think that we should respond to like threats of people saying that if you dare to enact this, then we're not gonna move from Central Avenue to wherever they're going. I don't know, I wasn't really into the politics of all of it, but I didn't like it when that person from that agency came in and said that to us. I think it was almost on the brink of, an illegal threat by someone it did not sit well with me. But I'm not sure if this C, section 3C, if that is like a response, or a conciliatory overture to that person that made that public comment threat. I don't know, are those the people that we're putting this in for, the public comment people?
I think it was a response to some of that, yes.
What?
I think it was a response to some of that, yes.
Some responses.
To the variety of comments that were made at the public comment.
Yep. Not the one person specifically, but to others too.
Okay, Mr. Bergdorf, did
All right,
you want to
thank
follow? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would just, I'm trying to get my head wrapped around the law correctly as you see it. So this goes into effect, and the way it is now, with the intermunicipal exemption, okay? And a facility moves from my district to Suzanne's district on Route 7. No notice is made to Suzanne or to anybody else because it's exempt.
Yes, which is currently the case, so.
No,
if-
I said if this law
Thank
were,
you. That's currently the case, so it would not change. You're correct.
but everybody else, if someone comes in from the Schenectady, the Niskayuna side, and moves in on Route 7, they have to provide notice to her.
The Department of Mental Health will provide notice to her, yes.
Yeah, well, I've got to really wonder what the purpose of this exemption is, because I kind of agree with Jennifer. Nobody wants an organization with the initials CN to be on Central Avenue. So we're looking for ways to get CN to move someplace else and saying that no matter where they move in the city of Albany, they're going to be exempt from any notification. So I don't know why we need this exemption in there.
Well, it wouldn't be exempt from any notification, right? They would still have all the notifications and all the approvals and all the authorizations that are required under state law. We are layering on another notification requirement that would apply to certain authorizations, right? But we are not taking away, we don't have the power to take away any of the requirements that would otherwise be in place, right? So if for your hypothetical, the facility that's moving within one municipality still has to get all the authorizations it needs from the state, including the notice to the head of the county Department of Health.
Yes.
That's mental health. That's still gonna be in place, right? Now, we're not doing anything to change that. It's just this new layer of notification would not apply to the intra-municipal movement.
Yeah, Jeff, I think we're saying the same thing.
Right.
I'm just looking at it from a different perspective, that's all.
Okay.
I mean, you have to admit, it's kind of silly. It's a silly exemption. It just should be across the board, everyone give notice, that's it. Like, I love this, but I don't like the exemption. It makes no sense.
Okay, that's,
Like, if
got
you're in
it.
Colony, make a notice, give us a notice, who cares? Like, why is this such a big, why is this such a big?
Okay, I wanna give Mr. Ricard and then I wanna give
Deal.
Mr. Simpson, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick follow-up on that. So somebody moves from Colony to Cohoes to Remsen Street in particular, which is my legislative district, I would be notified, is that correct?
Yes.
So the only other question I have on that, though, is Gil and Sean represent different parts of Cohoes. They will not be notified, is that correct? Now, I guess what I'm saying is,
They will be.
no, they won't, because I said Remsen Street, so that's my legislative district, so they're not gonna be notified. Is that right?
No, the whole legislature.
Intra-municipality.
No, we're going from Colony to
They reduced
Oh,
the
Colony
notice
to
to
Cohoes
Colony
will
to
still be,
Cohoes.
yeah. It doesn't go by legislative district, it goes by municipality.
Municipal boundary.
So, okay, so if it moved to Remsen Street,
Everyone.
So depending on
all
which
three of
part
us
of,
would be notified
Yes.
in that scenario? Okay, all right, that's fine.
I thought it was just one legislator that we had reduced.
yeah, it's
The notice.
the person, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
it's the
it's-
person
I was
who
right.
represents
It'll be
your
this year.
district.
That's what I thought, so
Yeah.
I guess
Sorry.
that was my point, no problem. It's a little confusing, not really.
Yeah, I think it's
Represents the
getting.
legislative.
So,
We're fighting
I
a
guess my
problem that
question
doesn't
is,
exist, and we're creating
Cohoes
problems
geographically is a
every
lot
place
smaller
else
than
in
the town of
country.
Colony.
Once
I guess I don't understand why we can't do it
And
by
I
all the
sympathize
legislators.
with what
If
you're
we're
going through,
moving
man.
another scenario from Albany to Cohoes, or to Colony, Albany to Cohoes, why couldn't you notify all the legislators? Or is it unrealistic because there's too many legislators?
I can't speak to that, this is the choice that the sponsor made
That's
when
just a question,
she
yeah.
wrote the
I-
law,
I would
so.
assume that you would tell Gil. and
I'm gonna
Sean.
tell Gil, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
obviously.
right, so
And if I don't tell him, I'll be in trouble.
I bet you would.
Okay,
He's done that, trust me.
Mr. Simpson, if you want.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think with this particular focus, we're missing the larger context. The larger context is that the inner cities of Albany, which have been redlined since 1938, are disproportionately saddled with these public health facilities. For example, I live at 295 Sheridan Avenue. the common council person before me represented the community as saying we didn't want Interfaith to move 2 doors down from me. Because he owed the former mayor allegiance, he betrayed us. And my wife ran and instead of him. But the issue is, if we don't have some kind of notification, then the inner city will continue to be bombarded with these facilities which we are already concentrated with. So notwithstanding this particular issue, the larger context is we need to protect the inner cities that are already decimated from continually being exploited. And I think that's the more important context for us to focus in on.
And you
Okay.
agree with me?
Does anybody else have anything they want to say about this?
There are
No, I don't
30
disagree.
There are 30 facilities.
Can we stop the sidebar?
Yep, sorry.
Anyone else want to say anything out loud about this?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. We've got a motion to, what's your motion?
Move it.
Move it with a favorable recommendation?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll second.
second. All those in favor of moving this with a favorable recommendation? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so one opposed.
I would have moved it with a regular recommendation, but, because I don't generally oppose these, to say we favor it is
Okay.
not accurate for me.
Okay. Ms. Whalen, how did you vote?
I am going to vote, I could vote either way, I just don't like the exemption of C. Like, I like the notice, but I don't understand C. Like, it's like the best of the worst, or like it's adding like notice, but then it's confusing the whole issue by not having notice across the board. I don't know why we can't just take, I would like it to go through without C. I think notice should be given to the legislator and their district.
Right.
That something like this is going in. Why wouldn't you wanna know? So that you could do your job and represent your constituents.
Yeah, I think,
It's like a big, why is it being kept a secret? If
understood.
someone's going from Baker Avenue in Cohoes to Renson Street, like, why should the legislators not know?
Please.
I mean, we're lucky now, we read the clips, thank you very much, to Elena.
Right, I mean,
But I mean-
I think you'll have an opportunity at the full meeting to advance those arguments, so, okay, so you're voting no?
Yes, I'll vote no for now, but maybe I'll vote yes then.
Okay,
Thank
fair
you.
enough.
Thank you.
All right, so next item on the agenda is local law number C for 2024, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, criminalizing rental fraud. Mr. Fine, do you want to say anything about this?
Yes, so this criminalizes rental fraud, basically a practice where someone who doesn't have any ownership interest or authorization to rent out an apartment goes and rents out that apartment, or it also criminalizes the practice of someone providing false or out-of-date photos when renting an apartment.
Okay,
So this is a practice that we're seeing more of with, with the internet scams. We try to, prey on people.
all right, great. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Ms. Whalen?
I have a question, do you find that it's mostly for rent by owners, not are real estate brokers or agents participating in this kind of fraud in your review of these circumstances, or?
What I've heard of is sometimes, I think, just people who, they might be in another state, they have nothing to do with the property at all, but they manage to find some pictures online and they make a post on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and they pretend that they are renting, that they own the apartment or they're renting it out, and they'll ask someone to, for security deposit in advance, and try to scam them. Oh, you have to send the money in advance, or you have to pay a fee, otherwise you can't see it.
So they're legitimate owners or not necessarily?
They're not. They're just random scammers
So
who
they could be
pretend.
inviting squatters too. I mean, they could go through with the whole thing and say the key is under the mat, go on in, doors opened, and then now you've got a squatter as a landlord, like an owner.
Yeah, if
That's
if
an
it
elaborate
goes that
scam.
far, I think it's more
It's
like,
an elaborate scam that's happening all over the place.
I think it's more like, that could happen, and we want to prevent that. I think
I
it's
think
more
this is
likely
great.
that someone sends them $1,000 let's say, security deposit or first month's rent, and then they go to the apartment and find out someone else is living there, and that person would just
Or they
scan them.
move in, and if they're there for more than 30 days, they can stay.
Although the
this is-
state budget
this
just
is-
changed some of those
This is
squatter
good,
rules,
but
but.
we need to also do like, you know, like fraud is squatting too.
Yeah, we should, the state budget just changed some of the squatting rules, so that's largely been addressed, but we could look at that as well.
Mr.
Well, I
Berger,
think-
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, are you all done?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Berger,
No, I'm very supportive of this, and I was going to ask you, I was pleased to see the state legislature be very strong, giving homeowners, landlords, et cetera, protection against squatters. Does that work well with this law? Does it mesh?
Yes, I don't see why these two, laws would not
No,
work
because I
together.
would hope they would work
Yeah,
together.
they-
Council has-
There's no issue with the
There's no,
combination.
the only question I have is, what is considered to be an old picture? Is
Well,
there a
it would-
definition for an old picture?
It's out of date, but it's something that does not accurately represent the current state of the permanent fixtures and features of the property. So not like, this isn't the right furniture, unless presuming it was supposed to be a furnished apartment. But like, if you showed something that had all of the fixtures and permanent fixtures, which could include certain window treatments, not like regular curtains, but like significant window treatments, and also appliances. If you were renting an apartment and the pictures had appliances in it, and then you took out all of the appliances, or you showed, what is more common is they show a picture of an apartment that's not actually being rented in another building or wherever, and then, so you see, every bedroom has a closet or something to that effect, and then the apartment you actually rent does not have any closets, or something similar to that, so that's the kind of thing that they're looking to have.
So fixtures and features would be a judicial discrimination, or if somebody
Those are
said,
both defined in real property law.
it is defined in real property law, fixtures and features?
Yep,
I mean, I know what I understand a fixture is
permanent
something that
fixture is
doesn't get
something that
removed from the
has-
property.
It's a term of art in law for real estate purchases.
And I want to add that the intent is to prevent people who are trying to
No,
really.
believe me, I
To
understand.
scam, to, purposely mislead and scam people. Not someone who took a picture and, there's a little scuff on the wall here and it wasn't there before. That's not.
You showed me a leather
Yeah.
couch and I got a beanbag chair.
Yeah, well, that might be an issue if
That's what I
the
mean,
apartment's
you
furnished,
know.
but.
I have a
Ms.
question.
Whalen?
I'm a real estate broker and a lawyer, and I have a real estate brokerage company. And I don't know if this situation that I'm going to elaborate on is included in this, but sometimes you'll look at properties and they will be empty, but then the brokers or the real estate agents or the owners will take this technology where they stage the place to look like, it doesn't. Like and so sometimes I'll have to look online at the property and then I realize, they've used the program to make it look like you could make it when you moved in there. And then I go back and look at the real pictures. And I find that to be very deceiving, but it's like allowed in the real estate industry. But I even have to be mindful of making sure that I catch the fact that it's been technologically kind of superfied, for your imagination. So how does this take into consideration those tactics which are well-known and used in a legitimate industry?
Interesting, so it's like an AI staging of.
Yes,
Well, I
exactly.
would think, if the apartment's supposed to be furnished, if it explicitly says it comes furnished and it's staged with furniture that isn't there, I would say that's a false photo, but if it's not, the apartment isn't furnished and it's just there clearly to show you, it could be a little confusing. You should
Well-
probably put a note on that saying, this is not actually
Well, you could
furniture
turn-
that's in the apartment,
could
this is
turn
what,
the-
but.
This could turn like the entire real estate industry on its head because,
No, that would only apply if it is intended to be furnished. Because otherwise, it's, obviously, if it's not a furnished apartment, everything that's in the apartment has to be removed prior to a new tenant coming in.
The furniture, yeah.
So unless it's
like
advertised as
staged.
furnished and it's AI staged, it would not make a difference.
So this does not impact that?
No, and it has no bearing on the real estate purchasing market either.
Because they
Okay.
might, yeah,
Just
they might put
rentals.
pictures
Well,
of
they
the
do-
current
they
tenant's
rent.
unit, right? And
Yeah.
that's, and it's understood
Yeah,
that
yeah.
furniture's gonna go, so
Yeah.
it's. I
Okay.
guess it's
Got it.
Okay, glad we resolved that. Any other questions? Have a motion on this one?
Second.
Feeny, Reedy, all in favor of moving this out with a favorable recommendation?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, great. Now, we're gonna, item number 4 and 5 have been tabled at the requests of their sponsors. Item 6, public hearing of proposed local law F for 2024, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 270 of the Albany County Code to provide a real property tax exemption for living quarters or parent or grandparent.
And
This is
Dr.
fun.
McLaughlin has been deemed a prime sponsor for this.
So is Deputy
Oh, and-
Carolyn Cunningham.
Oh, and
Oh,
we have multiple.
okay, does somebody want to speak to this one?
Dr. McGuire is also here to speak to it.
Oh,
Yeah, from the real estate bureau is going to speak
sure.
to it.
Director
First, I do
LaFleur.
want to say, first of all, I do think that in light of the housing affordability issue that is affecting every demographic, you know, from that young professional to that family to this is going to help seniors, help families stay together and provide an opportunity for that family member, that parent or grandparent that may be taking care of the senior member to get some tax relief as a result. So I think it's something that we can all be very proud of it as we move forward with the discussion.
Good evening, members of the Law Committee. I'm Mike McGuire, Director of Real Property for Albany County. Some of you I recognize from somewhere, so.
Don't worry.
Here we are again. Local law F for 2024 is proposing a real property tax exemption under Real Property Tax Law 469, which would grant an exemption to properties that were constructed or reconstructed to provide living quarters for parents or grandparents who are 62 or older. In order to allow for the exemption, we would need to adopt a local law. This exemption would be applicable for the county portion of the property taxes only. The property must be the primary residence of the child or grandchild who has completed the construction, and it would also need to be the primary resident of the parent or grandparent who is residing in the property. Like most property tax exemptions, there is an annual renewal requirement. There's a form that's prescribed by law that's available. The property owner would file that annually with their local tax assessor. Furthermore, the law that we're proposing would have to have a construction or reconstruction occurring after January 1st, 2023. The exemption is 20% of, it can be calculated in a couple different ways. 20% of the total assessed value, or the increase in the assessed value attributed to the improvement that was constructed, or 20% of the median sale price for Albany County. The 2023 median sale price, as identified by the New York State Commissioner of Tax and Finance, was $280,000. That would be the law.
Oh,
Thank you. I know you spoke at the previous meeting, but what would the cap, is there a cap on this? Or is the cap basically the New York State Commissioner of Taxation? The median
In practical
sale?
purposes, that'd probably be the cap, right? Because if
For
the median
whichever
sale
is
price
less.
is lesser than the assessed value of the property, and it's 20% of that, then it would probably be that.
So your previous figure, I think you said the New York State Commissioner of Taxation and Finance for last year was like 286.
280,000, so about $56,000.
So the cap would be 56,000.
Oh, yeah, for practical purposes, that would, yeah, that would
That's pretty
generally be
much
the
gonna
cap.
be the highest.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you. Is there an income?
Nope. No
What was the
income requirement.
question? I'm sorry.
Is there an income requirement? No, there's no income requirement. The one requirement is that the parent or grandparent would be 60, well, one of the requirements is that they're 62 or older.
But they can make this everybody's salary.
They can be a millionaire,
Okay, all right.
but the exemption is limited to that $56,000. So,
Any other questions? Oh, okay, Mr. Grant.
Thank you, Chairman. Under my regular caveat that there's no such thing as a tax exemption, it's a tax shift to everyone else who doesn't get the exemption. My first question is, how much will this cost?
I would say there'd be a nominal impact to the residents of Albany County. During the research, I identified dozens of properties that have these types of dwelling units within them, right? That's across the entire county. So the actual shift in tax burden would be nominal. I would expect it to be pennies in practical terms.
You think there would be more of this, given that there's, such a significant tax break, particularly if it benefits the people that are wealthier, obviously, because they are able to invest $70,000 or $80,000 in addition.
Well, it doesn't have to be an addition, it could be renovations or reconstruction. So in theory, you could have an existing 2 or 3 bedroom home, and maybe there's work done to accommodate that individual, right? Maybe an additional bathroom, so it
It's more
could be-
accommodating space, which is expensive, either way you look at it. But the additions are very expensive now, particularly the cost of
Yes.
construction.
Yep. It could be, yes, so.
So you really don't have a clear idea of what the impact might be on county taxes then? I mean, because we don't have the law in place.
Correct.
And the whole point of this, I guess, is to be an incentive to take care of grandma, if you will.
Yes.
My question is, once grandma passes, they're not entitled to the
Once
exemption?
the parent or grandparent is no longer occupying that space, then the exemption will be removed. And at that point, it'd be like any other exemption that comes off of a property. It's fully taxable, and then they would just pay the taxes based upon that full taxable value. There is no exempt amount that'd be coming off.
And we talked earlier that once grandma passes, God bless her, and they try to rent it, that changes the nature of the neighborhood if these are all owner-occupied homes. So that's a zoning issue, or maybe even a homeowners association issue?
Right, I would say that would be a local issue determined at the town or city level, right? So that's gonna be, the properties would have to be in compliance with zoning or building requirements, right? So these properties do need to receive a certificate of occupancy or certificate of completion. So based upon my experience, they would need to comply with zoning in order to actually receive that certificate. So they can't just do this
So
without
every year
permission.
they have to verify?
There's an
under-
annual
under-
application.
Not an oath, but a signature
Yes.
that attests that the grandma's still there.
Correct. And as I said before, assessors tend to be a morbid bunch of individuals. One of their activities that they conduct daily is reading the obituaries. And for the reason of identifying property owners that have passed.
Or
For the
seniors.
purpose of removing
The senior
property
star.
tax
I mean, the
exemptions.
senior star, that's a
Right.
significant amount of money.
So they do read the obituaries, they read poll exemptions in the event that somebody were to pass. And it does happen. I myself have gotten phone calls of complaint from grieving relatives saying that I was, adding additional burden to them by removing the property tax exemption. And, that's a different conversation, but it is something that does happen for the assessor's office, and it's part of their function that they do have to perform.
Thank you, Chairman.
Wow, okay. Does
Sorry.
anyone else have any other questions? Oh, Mr. Moriello, did you have something on this?
Graham asked all my questions.
Okay, all right. Can I have a motion to move this out with favorable recommendation?
I'll second it, please add me on too.
All right,
Into the bill.
all in favor of moving this out with a favorable recommendation?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Then, moving on, 7 is tabled, item 7 is tabled at the request of the sponsor. Items 8 and 9 are tabled because items 4 and 5 are tabled. And then that's it, that's our entire agenda. So can I have a motion to adjourn? Jeannie?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, I think it's great.